I'll go home. What's the point of trying to follow that?
Yeah.
I'm lost. I want to tell George a story. When I was a very small child in Edinburgh at the festival, it was something my dad loved, was the Edinburgh Festival. We went there in 1950 and 53. And I had an autograph book. And I went around collecting autographs from conductors and soloists. And I remember one man, I don't know who he was, but he says, I'm going to give you an autograph, and it's going to be at the end of your book. So at the very last, inside cover, at the very bottom right-hand corner of the inside cover, he wrote, by hook or by crook, I will be last in your book. I'm not sure how to follow George. That was a wonderful speech. Thank you so much.
Brilliant.
That was wonderful. I haven't heard a speech like that before. Oh, what a thrill to do a podcast for you. But had I known you were so brilliant, I'd have worked harder on it and done a bit more. What I can say to George is, and it's in the book, and I didn't know this, George probably did. At the time of my great-grandparents were living in Elizabeth Terrace in Jewtown, my grandfather Laban was living in Limerick, and his daughter Fanny and Molly, two daughters, they were brought by train from Limerick to Cork to visit the Sandlers in 13 Elizabeth Terrace. When they got off the train at Kent Station, they walked around the bridge, Clontarf Bridge, onto the quay, and they picked up a ferry. And the ferry took them down to Jewtown, and they walked the rest of the way to the houses. That's gone. It's all gone. The other thing that's, of course, interesting is that one grandmother, that was Trudy Smith, she was born in Cork in 1885 or 1895, I can't remember. And the other grandmother, Rachel Sandler, was brought over from Lithuania to Cork when she was 1 year old in 1875. And they were first cousins. And therefore, my mother and father were cousins. They were related. Yeah. Interesting story. I think that I was born in a bookcase, and I was brought up on a diet of milk and Mahler. That's because the house was full of books, and Mahler was always playing. Gerald absolutely adored music. And he listened to Mahler over and over again, just when I was very, very young, in that recording by Kathleen Ferrier and Bruno Walter. They met, in 1928 at a scouting event in Donaghadee, County Down. Sheila was 12 and Gerald was 16. And they didn't meet each other again between 1928 and 1933. And they corresponded with each other all the time. Now, going back to that period of time, I'm sorry to say that those letters are not extant, but I did find one letter in the museum in an envelope in Sheila's handwriting, which was marked letters from Sheila to Gerald and from Gerald to Sheila. There was only one letter in it. Little extracts from it might be amusing and interesting. And it's dated the 19th of March 1935. My dearest Sheila, here I am in the office trying to tell you, on paper, not as durable as that required, how deeply and tenderly I love you. I could not wait to buy parchment on which to write, but I must boast that my love will be more durable, more lasting, and infinitely more strong than any parchment in the world. That's a typical sort of analogy that Gerald would use, references to parchment and love. I mean, it doesn't quite gel for me. You are my dearest, and I am not much of a hand at putting on paper all that I want to say. It is more difficult when one is sincerely in love than when one is merely fascinated. I think of you in tones of lasting endearment. I respect you, venerate you, glory in you. I want to do all the things I said I would do just because you are you. I want to see your glorious great brown eyes leap with the light of joy, happiness and pride in our love. I want you always to think of our love as we knew it in Dublin. Now, there's a little absence of information here. I don't know what happened in Dublin. Friendship, respect, regard, happiness, contentment, loyalty, life, laughter, and all the other great things which make us feel together, we can always be one. My dearest Sheila, I had to tell you in Dublin all that I am haplessly trying to tell you again. You had become part of my life, even though you only came to me in pen and ink for 5 years. And you know, it's a remarkable achievement. Two young people, I mean, 12 and 16 is very young, but they managed to correspond and sustain a relationship for 5 years. That's quite an incredible achievement. But you were so loyal, so true and patient, and to have let you go back to Belfast without telling you that I had